I'm genuinely a little nervous about the level of detail that we're going into here. So this is by far the most detailed breakdown we've ever done. It's going to be step-by-step walkthrough, basically, you guys how to do this in your own business. The idea is that we're giving our best stuff away, and it's the type of information that people pay quite a lot for access to us to help them show how to do it. And it's everything that I've learned in the last 10 years. So running in-house teams, launching 2 businesses of my own, and working with nearly 300 companies. So here's what we're actually covering. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to find your unique market message and craft marketing assets that turn cold prospects into warm leads. We call this market resonance. Really fundamental to getting any sort of marketing right is to figure out your unique market message. We're also going to talk about your marketing philosophy. So how to switch from a lead gen approach to a demand gen approach and have customers come to you rather than you chasing them. We're also going to talk about how to select the right marketing channels for your business so that you can achieve maximum ROI on what you're spending. We're going to talk about creating content. So how to create nearly an unlimited supply of revenue generating content with only 60 to 90 minutes commitment from you per month. So what to talk about, how to capture it, how to publish it, etc., etc. We're also going to talk about LinkedIn ads, which is one of my favorite topics. I've personally spent more than £100,000 on various LinkedIn ads accounts. And a lot of that was wasted to learn the lessons that I'm going to share with you today. So how to structure a campaign on LinkedIn that will consistently give you 3 to 10x returns. 6 is how to turn your sales calls into consultations and have your customers beg you to take them on. So that's what we're covering. And hopefully that sounds good. Everyone ready to jump in? Just give me like a thumbs up if you're ready, or a yes in the chat or something from that. Thanks, everyone. Good. It's so weird not having the feedback. I'm glad someone's listening. Thank you. So first framework is market resonance. Now this, as I said, is absolutely key to achieving results with marketing, in my experience. If you don't have this, then pretty much all of your marketing is going to feel like you're running uphill, basically. So let's talk about how to find it. Now, on each of the frameworks, I've got some principles that I'll go through, and then I've got the various frameworks that we'll be covering. I've got examples of putting it into practice. So hopefully that's everything you need to kind of take this away and apply it to your own business. So the principles of market resonance is it's the way of communicating your offering that really connects with your audience, and ultimately it makes them want to work with you. So in my experience, and now operating as a CMO for lots of different companies, this is the most important aspect of growth, which is why we always start here. So if it feels like you're doing marketing, so if you're spending money on marketing, on agencies, on various types of marketing and not growing, it's usually because of this. It's because marketing is just a way of getting attention. And if the thing that you're getting attention to is not resonating with people, then the marketing won't help you. So hopefully that makes sense. The way to find market resonance is through testing and iteration. So I don't know if anyone's remembers the scientific method from school, but that's what we're following here to find market resonance. So it's research, hypothesis, experiment, gather the data, get the feedback, and come to a conclusion. And it's a cycle that continues on and on and on. And how do you know when you found it? So there's sort of 2 sides to this. There's quantitative, like data points, which is more demos, more bookings, more signups, like whatever your conversion action is in your business. For a software company, it might be signing up to your software. For a consultancy, it might be booking a consultation or a demo. So whatever that conversion action is, if we're getting more of those, then you've probably found some element of market resonance. It's kind of obvious. But then there's also a very qualitative side to this as well. It's also a feeling. It's like, what is the temperature of the calls that you're having with the prospects? Are people saying that what you're putting out there is really resonating with them? Are you getting positive feedback from the marketplace? So those are the 2 ways you can figure out if you found it. So this is basically how you'll find market resonance, okay? So we need to start with the research phase and the gathering data. There's a few different ways to do that. By far the best way, in my experience, and this is always the first thing we do, by the way, when we take on a new partner, is customer interviews. So what often happens in businesses, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but What often happens in businesses is we get into a boardroom and we say, we need to clarify our market message. Let's get all of our senior leaders in the boardroom and see if we can come up with this great new market message. And nobody thinks to just go and speak to your customers, the people who are actually paying you money for the service. And so I always recommend start by interviewing your customers, find out why did they work with you? What impact have you had on their business? What words do they use to describe that impact? How do they talk about the challenges that they had before working with you, and so on and so forth. You can also do the more typical kind of market research approach. And then there's something we call an ICP discovery campaign. All that means is getting in front of your target customers and booking conversations with them. So you might be, positioning it as a research interview, you might position it as a podcast interview or something like that. Sometimes I've seen people even incentivize these conversations. So if you're searching for kind of that market message, you can say, hey, I just want 30 minutes of your time. And if you're willing to do that, then here's a £50 Amazon gift card or something like that. All you need is the relevant info. For most businesses, the best way to do it is just to go to your customers, okay? And then you'll use that information to create something that we refer to as a product market fit hypothesis, or PMF hypothesis. So that just means we go through a positioning exercise, and I'll talk about it a little bit more here. But we go through a positioning exercise, which is get very, very clear on who we can help, how we can help them, and what our unique market message is, okay? So that's all a product market fit hypothesis is. And then we use that information to create something that we refer to as a marketing asset, or a sales letter or video sales letter. So again, when it comes to creating content, I think what often happens is we think, oh, we need 50 blogs on our topic, or within our marketplace. And actually, I just recommend, once you've got a hypothesis, like once you've got an idea, an angle of who you can help and how you can help them, let's create one really great piece of content and use that to test it. So something that really sums up the proposition. We like a sales letter methodology or a video sales letter methodology, which I'll talk to you about more in a moment, which is basically used to sell. So this is a bit of this is something to get your head around. It's not used to sell your business. It's used to sell the thesis that's underlying your business, okay? So I'll give you an example. In our case, with our marketing assets, we're never really selling our business. So we're a growth consultancy or a growth partner. We help people grow their businesses. But we never talk about that in our marketing assets. What we talk about is our unique growth protocol. And we know if people buy into our protocol and our way of doing things and our philosophy, then they'll buy into us as a business. So that's what's really important about these assets. In order for them to be really effective, they're selling the principles that underline your business, or the thesis that underlines your business, which you'll find from your product market fit hypothesis. Then you're going to test it, okay? So you're going to post organic content, you're going to run paid ads, you're going to do an outreach campaign, and you're going to test and see if it works. So are people booking in calls with you after having watched this? Are they speaking to you? Are they saying that they're interested? Blah, 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 blah. You're gathering all that new data, and then you're going to make a determination on whether you've achieved resonance. And if you have, that's great. You can just scale up your campaign. And if you haven't, then you'll just go and update your hypothesis, update your marketing asset, and then try again. And so you can see this is an iterative approach, and it's a question of when you find market resonance, not if you find market resonance. So hopefully that makes sense. If it does, I'm going to move on to the next section. If anyone has questions, please put them in the chat. John T or Danny or someone from the team, if you can just shout if there are good questions, because I'm not going to have a chance to monitor the chat. So if there are good questions, please shout, and I'm happy to answer them.
None at the moment, just lots of thumbs ups.
Nice. If anyone has questions, please fire away. Okay, so that's the high level how to find market resonance. Okay, now what you're probably wondering is, how do we create one of these marketing assets? And that's what I'm going to talk about now. So, and hopefully you like these Figmas, by the way. This is like how my mind works. I can't just write a document on this. I have to like map it out mentally, and hopefully other people feel the same way. So we start with the product market fit hypothesis, as we talked about. Now, what that is who are you speaking to? So get very clear on your target customer. what is their current state? So what are the challenges and the pain that they have? So in our case, it's businesses who want to grow but haven't figured out how to grow. They're wasting time and energy on marketing. They're relying on referrals and don't know how to go to the next level. Maybe they turn over 1 million, they want to get to 10 million. That's their before state. And then also you need to get very, very clear on what their after state is, like what's the outcome that they want to achieve. So in our case, again, it's predictable inbound leads, it's revenue growth, it's their customers coming to them, seeing them as an expert, etc. So you need to get really clear on where are they before working with you, where are they after working with you, and then what are the unique insights that you can share with the audience. And just to give you a clue, like this is what all marketing is about. It's about where are they now, where are they after, and then positioning your business as basically the bridge between those 2 points. So that kind of summarizes the whole of marketing in any industry. So that's your product market fit hypothesis. We then move on to summarizing that in a thesis, right? And I know this sounds like really intellectual and stuff, and I'm not just saying it to make myself sound smart. I think it is useful to have that scientific approach as we approach these types of things. So what you want to do is summarize your thesis. So you've got your hypothesis, you need to summarize it. And that's what underlines the product or service. So like I said, in our case, our marketing assets are designed to sell our unique approach to growth, our protocol, rather than the services themselves. So the marketing asset is designed to sell the thesis, not the product or service. It's a subtle but a powerful difference. So for example, we have a partner at the moment. They have an AI platform which helps associations manage their data and get insights from their data. Now, they're not selling in their marketing assets, they're not selling their particular platform. What they're selling is you as an association, you should be using AI to get the most out of your data. And they know if people buy into that, then they're going to buy into them as a business and the platform. So it's a subtle shift, but it actually makes quite a big difference to how you approach it. So that's the thesis summary. And then you use that. And these are all of the different sections that you cover in a sales letter or a marketing asset. So we kind of need all of these sections. It doesn't have to be in this order, although this is by far the easiest way to do it. But you kind of need all of these sections. So I'll go through now. So you obviously have a headline. You need a headline, something that's going to grab people's attention. I like to come to that last when I know what all the other sections are going to be. But if you've got a big transformational headline, like a big claim, the first thing you need to do is provide some credibility, like some social proof. Otherwise, people are not going to believe your claim. So often that could be a testimonial or a screenshot of something or some sort of evidence or proof. Could be accreditations, could be anything really. But you need to follow up the transformational headline with something that gives you credibility. The next phase is something we call niche identification, which is just all about the before state and the after state. Okay, so this is where you really identify with your customer and you say, here's where you are now, here's where you want to get to. And what that does is it shows them that you know how to do it. If you cast your mind back to the start of this call, I actually did that at the start of this call. I said, this is for you if you're experiencing these problems and you want this outcome, right? And so you guys know, and you probably stayed on the call because you felt that applied to you. And so you need to do that in your marketing assets as well. So that's why it's so important to go through this process and actually understand who you're talking to and what their challenges are so that you can put it into your marketing content. Okay. So you've shown them that you know who they are, what they want, what their challenges are. The next thing is to talk about the challenges that they might be experiencing. So what's the old way of achieving the outcome that they want? So, let's use the AI platform example. So the old way might be to manually go through all of your data and try and make some sense of it, which takes ages and it's inefficient and probably one of the most painful tasks you could probably do, okay? So that's an example. So you need to clearly show them why that old way is not going to work for their situation and it's not going to achieve the outcome that they want. You then introduce the solution. So you introduce your new way of doing things, i.e. this is your thesis, right? And I put this in capitals. This is not a sales pitch for your product or service. So this is not where you come in and you say, oh, at our company, we've got the best platform in the world. It's going to do X, Y, Z, here, feature, benefit. No, you say, this is why you as a business need to use the power of AI to analyze your data. So hopefully that makes sense. Really subtle shift, but makes a huge difference to the results, because basically people don't like being sold to. So if you don't sell to them, it works a lot better. Okay, so that's where you introduce a solution. Now we introduce the vehicle, and this is the product or service. So once they've bought into that solution, we can now finally talk about our product or service and why it's the best on the market and can help them do it better, faster, etc., etc. So this is where, you know, our partner might say, that's why we built our platform, and here's how it works, and this is why it's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. So you'll notice it takes all the way down to here to even mention your company name or talk about what you guys do. Then you need to show case studies. So these are examples of businesses that you've helped tangibly. You've taken them from the before state to the after state, right? So you're going to see themes running through all of this, right? You need to show examples of having actually walked people through the process that you're talking about. And then finally, you're going to give them a decision and kind of go on to next steps. So what should someone do if all of this resonates with them? Like, what do they want? What should they do if they need to learn more? And so on and so forth. So give them a very simple next step. Then the last thing you do is add a headline. So now that you know the structure of the marketing asset, you're going to finish with a headline. So this needs to be something really impactful, attention grabbing. And then we're just going to write the sales letter, or we're going to record it, or we're going to, you know, if it's a video, we're going to record it or capture it however we want to. So that there is how you produce a marketing asset. And I know from experience, if you have a good marketing asset, it can make your business millions of pounds over a period of time. And so this is why it's such an important exercise to be able to do well. So here are some examples. So some of you on the call, you might have seen this. This is one of our marketing assets. It's a breakdown of our growth protocol. You will find it for free on our website. And you can see, so I'm wearing a turtleneck in this video. It was recorded last winter. So it's been going for nearly 9 months or something now. Thousands of people have seen it at this stage. And it's made our business thousands and thousands of pounds, because it does all of the heavy lifting for us. By the time they speak to us, they already know who we are. They're bought into us. They know that we have a track record, etc. So that's an example in our business. This is an example of one of our partners. They have a platform which helps surveyors get surveys. And this is what it looks like. So they just have the video live on their website. This is another one of our partners who do plasma cleaning in the kind of manufacturing industry and like semiconductor industry. This is a written sales letter. So it's actually the landing page of their website. And then this is a business that have a SaaS platform for digital credentials. We had more of a slide deck version with them. So just to give you some examples of kind of what this looks like in practice. And this is where we start, because the first thing you need to do is get a hypothesis, and then you create a marketing asset, and then you test it. And that's why we always start at this point. Any questions on that? We making sense here?
Yes, I've got a question here from I'm so scared to pronounce this name. I think it's Wing. Please don't butcher me. Sure. But he's basically asking, where do we host these assets? Is it just on our website, or do we also promote on like TikTok or other social media platforms?
Good question. Really good question. They can go anywhere. So, you know, we like to put them on the website. We also like to share them directly on social platforms as well. So you don't have to necessarily wait for someone to visit your website for them to view this, especially if it's positioned as kind of educational, informational content. I would just put it directly on LinkedIn or TikTok or wherever you're sharing your content. It's a really good question. Great.
Sending a big thumbs up.
Thank you. This is going to be a really information heavy hour and a half, guys. Hopefully you're up for that. Because that's only one of, well, actually that's two. That's the first two. We've got 4 more to go. and then there'll be some time for questions and stuff at the end. So now you're probably wondering, so this is really designed for B2B companies. But once you've got your marketing asset and you've got your product market fit hypothesis, you're probably wondering, like, which marketing channels do we need to use to actually get our message out to the world? So this is primarily focused on B2B companies. So it doesn't involve so much of Instagram, TikTok. We really focus on LinkedIn and Google for B2B. It's not that they're the best ones. It's just that we feel that they work really well for the type of partners that we work with. But that's not to say they're the only marketing channels that you can use. So you can use this framework to identify which channels you guys should be using. So you'll start here at the start. And then the first thing we look at is Google. So are customers using search to find your product or service? And the reason that's there is that it's not the case that all businesses can find customers on Google search. So in some industries, particularly if you're doing something quite innovative and new, then people might actually not know how to search for that. And actually you might need to educate them first, in which case the answer to this would be probably no. Okay, so you need to kind of do some research. Are people actually searching for our product or service in Google? If they are, then you're going to ask yourself, is the level of competition acceptable? So for example, Dominic and Claire, I see you guys on the call. In the recruitment space, you guys are in a recruitment business, really hard to compete on Google search because you've got the big players who spend loads and loads of money on Google, and it's really difficult to compete with them. So in that case, I would say the answer is probably no. The level of competition probably not acceptable. If the level of competition is acceptable, so for example, if you're in a more niche market, or the cost of getting eyeballs is not too expensive, then we typically would test the market or test the channel with paid search, so with PPC. And then if that works well, we'll also add an organic element to it as well. The reason that we do that and we start with Google search paid first is that it's much quicker to get feedback. So what you don't want to do is start an SEO campaign today and you're going to have to wait 6 to 12 months to see if it works or not. And I know this really well because we started our business as an SEO agency, like SEO only agency, and we've kind of evolved since then. So I know quite a lot about SEO, and sometimes it takes a long time. So in those cases, you want to start with paid. You should know within 3 to 6 months if it's working, and then you can bolster that with organic. So hopefully that makes sense from a Google search perspective. The next platform that we look at is LinkedIn. Is the audience present on LinkedIn? Now, for probably the vast majority of companies, B2B companies, your audience is going to be present on LinkedIn. Every time I talk about this, someone pipes up with like the one exception to that rule. So there probably are like 1 or 2 exceptions, but in general, yes, like your audience will almost definitely be present on LinkedIn. It's a growing platform. It's a surprisingly active platform as well. And it's a really good platform for your business. So if the answer to that is yes, we usually would recommend retargeting ads as a starting point. Now, there are benchmarks you have to hit in terms of the audience size. So we need to have people come into our website in order to get retargeting ads. But we usually start with retargeting. And then if you have a budget for cold ads, then you can run cold ads as well, meaning running ads to people that don't know who you are. That gets a bit more expensive. Usually we start at £50 a day. And I'll show you in a moment how we structure all of our ad campaigns, because you want to get it to the point where it's basically a money machine. So you're putting money in one end and you're getting 3, 5, 10x your money on the back end. So that's the LinkedIn ads. If you don't have the budget for cold, that's fine. You're just going to follow more of an organic strategy, and you'll probably just have to put a little bit more calories and energy into the process. Whereas with ads, you're just paying for the reach, if that makes sense. So that's LinkedIn. And then whilst you're doing that, and I've kind of changed my perspective on this actually over the last year or so. Previously, I used to say like, test the concept with ads and then launch your organic strategy later. Nowadays, I think really in order to be successful, pretty much every business has to be producing content of some kind. Yeah. It's really hard for you to actually position yourself properly and stand out if you're not producing some sort of organic content in the B2B space, in my opinion. So you want a content engine. Again, we'll talk about how to create loads of content later. You could take that framework and just apply it straight away. But you'll want to be posting content on platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube. You probably want an email newsletter. And then you can look at obviously your TikToks, your Instagrams, and all the other platforms. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of marketing channels. It'd be interesting just to do a quick survey of you guys now. Like, what channels are you using to get customers at the moment? And are you using the channels that we're talking about here? Is it mostly LinkedIn and Google, or are you looking at other stuff at the moment?
We're getting quite a lot of LinkedIn. We've got Reddit, TikTok, Facebook, mostly LinkedIn, some saying Upwork as well. And the list goes on.
Wow, cool. Reddit, didn't even mention Reddit. That's actually a really good shout. I might have to pick your brains on that after this. I don't know too much about it. That's an interesting one. Okay, so do you guys feel like you're comfortable picking the channels for your business now? You feel like you have the information you need? Perfect. Awesome. Getting dehydrated here. Talking too much. I went for a run earlier, so problematic. Okie dokie. So that's how to pick your marketing assets. Now, we are moving on here to how to create nearly an unlimited supply of revenue generating content. So this is all about how do we produce demand? So we talked earlier about getting people to come to you and wanting to see you as the expert. Really, the only way to do that is through content. So these are the principles of, we call this the demand gen content machine. So like, how do you produce a lot of content without a huge effort on your side? So we talked about this earlier. Focus on generating demand, not generating leads, okay? So a lead gen strategy is aiming to get people's contact information and then pushing them through a sales cycle at the pace that you want. So you're going to have a white paper or something. You're going to say, like, give me your email address and I'll send you this white paper. And then once you've got their email address, you're going to send them a follow-up sequence of 10 emails, aiming to book them on a call. And then on the call, you're going to try and sell them on something. Okay. So that's in general how lead gen works. I'd be quite curious, when was the last time anyone on this call gave their contact information in exchange for a white paper? Whenever I've asked that question before, it's usually pretty low numbers. So here's how demand gen is different. And it's a complete change to your marketing philosophy. So it does take some time to get used to. It's about positioning your business as the best or the only option available, and then allowing people to do the buying journey at the pace they want. So what does that mean in practice? You know, that white paper we talked about earlier, rather than putting it behind an opt-in, you're just going to share it with the marketplace. And if it's really valuable, then that's going to encourage people to think of you as the expert. So it means that people can come to you and they see you as the expert, and they get to buy your stuff at the pace they want. Now, what we've learned from experience is that means you get far more qualified buyers. Everyone's a lot more bought in. You can increase your prices. Your sales closing rate will go up. Your sales efficiency will go up massively because your salespeople are not wasting time with people who aren't a good fit and who can't afford you, and so on and so forth. So it's a complete change in philosophy.
Just to quickly double check, has David frozen on anyone else's screen?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm just messaging him on Slack.
You're going to have to take over, Jonty.
No, please bear with me.
Actually, I might be able to do that, but I don't have access to these flows. You're back.
You can't hear me?
You froze for about 50 seconds.
Oh, you are back. Yeah,
That's so weird. That's so weird because I could hear everything that was going on, but you couldn't hear me. Okay, so I'm good to keep going.
Yes, you're back now, Phil.
Perfect.
Nice thumbs up.
Thanks. That's so weird. On my side, I didn't see anything, so I just carried on chatting away. So hopefully, I don't know how much of that you missed, but basically, we're focusing on demand gen rather than lead gen. What does that mean in practice? It means we're going to create educational and valuable content that's designed to position you and your company as the go-to expert within your target market. So obviously, you've got to have a great content strategy in order to speak to the customers, their pain points, their desired outcomes, and show them that we really understand them. Again, if you cast your mind back, this is why we do the product market fit hypothesis, so that we know who our customers really are and we can create great content. Sub point, this only works if you actually have something good to say. So you have to be a genuine expert, or someone in your business has to be a genuine expert. Otherwise, this is probably not going to work. That's quite an important point. I recommend to focus on consistency. So people are probably not impulse buying your thing. Like in the B2B marketplace, someone's not like impulse buying a 10K software product or a £8,000 recruitment fee, or whatever it is. People are not doing that. So people have to see you 5, 10, 15 or more times before making a buying decision. That could take years sometimes. So I've had people come back to me. I mean, just to say, it doesn't need to take that long. You can see results very quickly. But I've had people come to me, who have become customers, who I first connected with them maybe 3-4 years ago. And they've only just come back to me and they've said, and they've never commented or engaged with any of my content, but it's clear that they've been watching and following along the journey. So I'm not saying you have to wait years to see results, but I'm saying you have to have that mindset. Next thing is that efficiency is really key. So creating content can be a real pain, to be honest with you, and can take a lot of time and energy and resources. So think about how to repurpose everything. How can I spend as little time as possible and create as much content as humanly possible? E.g., in our case, and most of you guys have probably seen a bunch of my content. I only spend a few hours per month creating that content. So we just have a very efficient process of editing and distributing that. Don't worry about platforms too much. Everyone's always worrying about which platform they should be posting on. The content itself is much more important in my experience. Obviously, you have to tailor it for the platform. But this framework that I'll show you below, it will work for SEO content. It will work for TikTok content. I personally like LinkedIn for B2B, but you don't have to use LinkedIn. So just pick one or maybe 2 platforms where you think your customers hang out and really master those platforms. And this is the system below that I'll just walk you through, which we call the demand gen content machine. We've used it to drive millions in sales for B2B and also for our partners. So just the proof that this really does work. And surprise, surprise, we're going to start with the product market fit hypothesis, because that is the core of everything that we're doing. So we're going to start with the PMF hypothesis, and then we're going to go through a process of identifying the audience again and defining the key content pillars and the key talking points. Okay. So we usually split this into 8 key content pillars. I don't know if Stacey is on the call today, but this is something that Stacey, our creative director in our team, came up with a little bit of help from me. But we basically have 8 content pillars and 8 things that we usually talk about. So the first thing is identifying the problem. So this is before state. Again, if you cast your mind back, we need to know where our customer was before working with us. So that's the first content pillar. Second is about results. So that's the after state. And usually you'll provide like, here's the ROI that the company got in the B2B marketplace. So that's the after state. And we need to create content around that. The third is like success stories. So case studies, social proof, things that are going to increase your credibility. The fourth is old way versus new way. So UUI stands for unique, useful insight. So this is a key part. I don't have time to go into a lot of detail on this, but this is a key part of your product market fit hypothesis is what are the insights you can share with the marketplace from your position of expertise? So in our case, some of our UUIs are, for example, we talk about generating demand rather than generating leads. So that's one of our core unique, useful insights, because it's something I can share from my 10+ years of B2B sales and marketing experience. We also talk about marketing not being the same as growth. So marketing and growth being different. And you have to take a holistic approach if you want to achieve growth. So that's where we talk about doing marketing and not growing. So that's like the old way versus new way UUIs. They'll be different for every business. You also want to provide educational content and tutorials just to share value, give insights, give information. Another thing that you can touch on, which we don't do as much of this actually, but it's a useful one, especially if you're in a kind of regulated industry. So industry trends, insights, keeping people up to date with the market. The seventh would be around posts and content that's designed to generate engagement and build community. So for example, on LinkedIn, it might be getting people to comment below with their experience, or it might be a poll, or it might be getting people to post a comment and you'll send them out a file or whatever. So that's community engagement. You want to do them every now and then. And then the final thing is, it usually is worth sharing some personal things. You definitely don't want to share everything. I just recommend pick 1 or 2 things that you're comfortable sharing, and they can become part of your brand. So for example, in my case, I talk a lot about coffee. You might have noticed that from my LinkedIn profile. I also love talking about dogs. There's my dog. Yeah, you can see Freddie here is behind me. If you... Oh, Sarah's got a spaniel as well. Great. So this is Freddie, the Cocker Spaniel. So talk a bit about dogs, and then I also really like watches. So I collect watches, and I like talking about watches a bit as well, although I've kind of stopped doing that recently. But those are the personal things that I've decided to share. And you'd be really surprised how often someone joins a call with me and they ask me like, oh, did you have your coffee this morning? Because I posted videos of me grinding my coffee and brewing it and stuff. Or they'll say, oh, what are you wearing on your wrist today, or something like that. So it can be useful, not necessary, but can be useful, and needs to be done tastefully, is what I would like to say. So, take that or leave it. That's up to you. So now we have all of our talking points. Yeah, which is the most important thing, because the reason that people find content hard is that they come to a blank piece of paper and they're like, where do I start? So if you've got your talking points, or if you've got your content pillars, you can then go into each of these content pillars and define talking points. So you can just write down, here's a bunch of headlines of pieces of content I can create, or these are questions that I can ask for my customers. So think about your last 10 client calls. What kind of problems were they experiencing? And write the answers to those in your content. It's really as simple as that. So you've got your content pillars, you're going to define your talking points, and then you're going to capture the content itself. The reason I said capture rather than record is that it depends on what type of content you're creating. So you can write posts or write blogs. You can record video content. I personally love using video content. I think it has a lot of value. I think you can convey a lot by video that you can't necessarily in writing. So you're going to define the talking points. You're going to capture that content. We have a system we call a podcast style interview. So one like really kind of easy way to create content for LinkedIn is just to set up an interview that's like in the style of a podcast, hit record, and then have 8 to 10 pre-planned questions that you're going to cover, and just get someone to ask you the questions. And it looks like you're appearing on a podcast answering the questions. That can then be a long form piece of content, and also all the shorts that come from that as well. So you need to capture it somehow, some way. Then you'll need to obviously go through the editing process, and then it gets published. So it's sort of simple as that. I actually think that the most important points are the content pillars and the defining talking points, because I think if people know what they want to talk about, then actually creating the content and publishing it is more straightforward. But please shout if you've got any questions. Thanks for all the thumbs up. That's actually really helpful. Literally sent Freddie to sleep with what I'm talking about. So it's good that someone's enjoying it. So these are some examples. So for example, this is a post that I put on LinkedIn. You don't need more leads, you need more demand, blah, 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 blah. This is the video that accompanies that. Funnily enough, this was a snippet from a previous Building Public Live we did. So that's, again, an example of repurposing. I just recorded it and then we clipped it up and put it on LinkedIn. That's been seen by lots of people. It's got good engagement. We actually run ads on this as well, so a lot of people have seen it. Another example, again, this is one of our partners. So it doesn't have to be video content. You can do these kind of graphic posts as well. And this is one of their UUIs, which is like the difference between traditional and AI enhanced accounting. This is the same company. This is like a video version. This is something we took a clip from one of our podcast style interviews. So this is Stacey, our creative director. She was asking me a bunch of questions about various things. And this is one of our core UUIs that we talked about if you feel like you're doing marketing and not growing. And this had a lot of engagement. Again, we run ads on this as well. This is you can also put things into like documents or PDFs. So this is like a 7 or 8 page thing, lead gen versus demand gen. And then this is another one of our partners. This is a clip from an actual podcast interview that they conducted. So just to give you some examples, like none of this looks commercial, does it? It doesn't look like we're selling anything. We're just sharing insights. And we know that the more that people see these, and if they resonate with them, they're going to see us as an expert, and over time, put their hand up and be interested in potentially working with us. So hopefully that's clear and makes sense. The next thing I'll go on to is running LinkedIn ads, which is one of my favorite topics. Cool. Let's do it. Okay, I think I need to speed up a little bit. So this is how to run LinkedIn ads that generate a lot of money. So we're going to start with some metrics. So this, for our business, B2B, LinkedIn ads are our primary way of getting customers, basically. Or let me rephrase that. LinkedIn as a platform is our primary way of getting customers, and ads are a big part of that process. So these are our marketing scorecards from the months of April and May of this year, so just a few months ago. So you can see here, in April, we spent just over £6,000 on LinkedIn, and we generated nearly £100,000 of new revenue from that £6,000. So pretty decent return. We're talking like 15, 16x return. In May, not quite as good, but still pretty profitable. It was 4,500, went to nearly £50,000 of new revenue for the business. So the reason I'm showing this is not to brag, it's to show you that we know what we're talking about when it comes to running ads and creating content for LinkedIn. And nearly all of this comes through my personal profile, which gets something like 200 to 300,000 impressions per month. So that's what's basically required to generate 50 to 100,000 pounds of new revenue per month. We're actually in a process at the moment of scaling this up. We've kind of been stuck at this level of ad spend for a while for a few different reasons, and we're now ready to scale that up. So I look forward to sharing the insights, like what happens when we spend £10,000 a month, and can we keep it as profitable as this? Let's see. So yeah, this is all from our LinkedIn ads primarily. Okay. And so we're talking again, like I really want to like hammer this point home, and sorry if it's getting boring, but the difference between lead gen and demand gen. So when it comes to advertising on LinkedIn, these are examples of lead gen ads. Okay, so I don't know who this company is, but weirdly enough, when I was creating the presentation, I just scrolled through LinkedIn to try and find some lead gen ads. And I noticed that I didn't even actually notice them before, but there's loads, but I actually didn't notice them. And I think that's because my brain just subconsciously filters them out, because I know I'm being sold something. So really interesting. I don't know if anyone, like, if you were to go on LinkedIn now, you'll probably see loads of these ads, whereas before I literally didn't even notice them. So this is a promoted post from these guys. It's simple to use, 8% savings on groceries and more. Learn more. And then basically what they want to do is you give them your contact information, and then they'll send you the information. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just a very different philosophy to how we personally like to grow our business. And it certainly can work. So that's a lead gen ad, right? It's like straight to the get your information. This is another example of a lead gen style ad. So from Active Campaign, it's headline, very much selling Active Campaign. You click learn more, and it takes you to a website that's like, sign up, basically get started. And again, there's nothing wrong with these, but the problem is if I'm not in the market for a CRM, or if I'm not in the market for like an email marketing software like Active Campaign, I'm not even going to notice this. Like, I don't care about this. Whereas if they ran an ad that was like, here's how to do email marketing, and it was a 10-minute video talking me through how to do email marketing. And maybe I watched 2-3 minutes of it and I think, oh, this is actually quite interesting. Like, I believe what these guys say. And then I see a bunch of content over the next 3 months. And then I do need a CRM, or I do need an email marketing software. I might end up buying from them. But it's very unlikely for me to go through this process if I'm not actually actively in the market for a new CRM or email marketing software. So hopefully that's making sense. So these are examples of demand generating ads. And I'll show you a ton more later. So this, I thought this was going to be a lead gen ad, which is why I took the picture. But actually all this did is it drove traffic to their website. And it was a really interesting article from this guy, Rob. And they're not asking for anything at all. So I clicked on the ad. I went to their website. I read the blog. And probably what's happened now is they've collected my, they've pixeled me, and I'll probably see retargeting ads from that company over and over. So you see how that's a very different approach to the typical lead gen ad. This is one of ours, which is basically a process of me breaking down something very similar to this video, actually, which is like the kind of demand gen ad strategy and the results that we've achieved with it. And you can see, 352,000 people have seen this so far because we run ads on it. But it doesn't feel like an ad. Okay, so the best ads don't feel like ads, but everything is an ad. Basically, that's the high level concept. So these are the differences and examples between the two, demand gen and lead gen. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, how do I structure the campaign in order to achieve those sorts of results? So this is how you do it. It's much more simple than it looks. It looks very complicated. So anything in blue is going to a cold audience. And when we say cold, we just mean people who don't know us yet. So they're not familiar with our brand yet. So that's the cold offer. So yeah, blue is cold and orange is warm or retargeting. So these are people who have been on our website or people who have engaged with some of our content. They just need to be familiar with us and we can run retargeting ads to them. And you should expect the vast majority of your conversions and your revenue to be generated from retargeting. So this is how you'll structure the campaign. So you've got your core offer, which is going to be some sort of summary of your video sales letter or your marketing asset. Don't really have too much time to go into that now. That's going to drive traffic to your website or your sales letter and video sales letter. So this is the marketing asset that we talked about before. So you need a way of driving traffic to that asset. And then what that's going to feed into is all of our retargeting layers of advertising. So people in our retargeting layer, they're going to see the core offer again. You might have a couple of variations of that core offer ad. They're also going to see case studies and social proof. They're also going to be pushed to your organic audiences like your YouTube, your newsletter. If you've got a podcast, you'll be. Yeah. Oh. Are we good? Am I frozen again?
All good on my side.
Okay. Perfect. Cool. So yeah, and the final bit is the unique useful insights. You'll be sharing those with your marketplace through the retargeting ads, and that will drive back to your LinkedIn profile. So this is the system that you'll use. And basically what you'll see here is people will see your initial ad and they'll watch some of your content and they'll express a bit of an interest, but they probably won't buy. And the reason that they haven't bought is maybe it's not the right time. Maybe they don't trust you yet. Maybe they don't think you're credible. And so over the next period of weeks and months, we're going to basically answer all of those problems for them by sharing our unique insights, by sharing examples of people that we worked with previously, by them seeing the ad over and over again. And what it means is, let's use our example. It's very hard for me to convince someone to want to work with us if it's not the right time for them. So we can't really control when someone's going to buy growth or marketing services. It has to be the right time for their business. Maybe they've just received funding and they can afford it, or maybe they've just lost their marketing manager and they need some support. So I can't control when that's going to happen, but what I can control is who do they think of when they do need the marketing service. So that's what this process is designed to do. It's designed to position you as the best or the only option available so that when people are ready, they instantly think of you and they come to buy. So that's what we're really trying to do. So in our example, just to break it down for us, our core offer is a breakdown of the protocol. We have loads of social proof and case studies from customer interviews, from screenshots. We've got montages of people saying nice things about us, which is always good. We actually don't do this anymore, but previously we have driven people to YouTube and also to subscribe to our email newsletter. And then our core unique useful insights are things like finding market resonance or kind of marketing versus growth. Well, that was our third one. Focus on building demand, not generating leads, and then having a sort of logical and systematic and scientific approach to growth. So this is how we actually build up the campaign with our business. And like I said, these are the kind of returns that we typically get on an average month. Just bear in mind, this is not revenue like cash collected today, but it's contract signed and over the next 6 to 12 months or whatever it looks like. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions on this? Any questions on ads? This is something that I love talking about. No questions. Perfect. Good, good, good. Love it, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'm going to tread on Danny's toes a little bit here.
Jump in.
Because I'm going to talk about
Sorry,
sales.
there's one question from Wing again. He asks, when creating assets, do you time box yourself on how long you spend on creating them?
That's a good point. Do you mean by that, do you mean that you restrict yourself in how long you give yourself to put it together, or do you mean the length of the content itself?
No, yeah, the first one, like how long do you actually spend? Because like you said, one of your principles is about like consistency and efficiency, right? And you can probably spend like forever like crafting the perfect like asset, but do you just like focus on like, you know, on one day in this 1 hour, you'll get something like built out and like delivered? Yeah,
I mean, I've done like hundreds of these now, so I'm pretty quick at putting them together. So I can like spin up a new sales letter in a couple of hours, maybe 2-3 hours, if I know the subject. But usually it takes people a little longer. I'm quite a big believer in just like shipping stuff, like just getting it out there. So don't worry about it being 100% perfect. Obviously make it good, like make it excellent, you know, get the details right. But don't worry about it being 100% perfect and like produce really well and all of that kind of stuff. The key is just getting it out there, getting the feedback, and then iterating as you go. And you shouldn't expect the first one to be perfect. Like it will take a few versions to really find something that really, really resonates with people. No, my pleasure. So I'm just really conscious of time. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. There's a lot of notes here. So we may not have time to go into all the details, but we're talking about sales. And here's why I think you should listen to me when it comes to sales. I've been doing it for more than 10 years now. I've literally done thousands of sales calls, although I don't do many of them anymore. I've done thousands of them in the past, and sold multiple millions of various different products and services for different businesses of my own and different businesses that I've worked with. I don't consider myself to be a traditional salesperson in the traditional sense. And yet I've been a top performer at a lot of the companies I've worked for. So that's maybe encouraging for you. Like if you're sitting there and you don't really like selling, which I think a lot of business people don't like selling, then I don't really like selling either. And I think the way that we do it here and the consultative approach will really, really work well for you. I've run sales teams in the past, trained people, including for my own companies, and worked with nearly 300 companies as a growth consultant and advisor to help them actually build these processes out. So that's why I think you should listen to me. But the principles are, don't be afraid of sales. So many business people are quite afraid of doing sales. And if you switch your mindset to, you're there to interview the prospect and see if they're a good fit to work with you, rather than you trying to sell them something, then that's going to really help you as a starting point. You're not there to sell anything. You're there to help them make a decision. So you've got to think like a consultant, think like a surgeon, be a problem solver. My wife is a surgeon. She's very much like a problem solver mentality. Okay, so she's not like, you're not there to be their best friend. You're there to help them solve their problems. So be a problem solver, not a salesperson. You should aim to listen a lot more than you talk. So great sales is about asking great questions and then just shutting up and letting them talk. Usually we aim for a ratio of 1 to 3. So you should only be talking like 30 to 35% of the time, ideally. Never try and sell people that should not buy your thing. That's a disaster in a lot of different ways. Also, don't expect everyone to buy. So like a really good sales conversion rate in B2B is maybe 30%. That's pretty high, 30%. So in that example, 7 out of 10 people are going to say no to you if 3 out of 10 are buying. So you should expect more people to say no than yes, and just understand that that's part of the process. This process can be followed over 1 or 2 calls, depending on your preference. It's kind of a high-level framework, and there are obviously nuances that you can add, but it's designed to be the Pareto principle, like the 80-20 version of how to do a sales process. And it helps a lot if you have good marketing assets. So like, sorry to sound like a broken record, but if you're positioned well and you've got great marketing assets, it makes the sales job 10 to 100 times easier. If people are joining the call, they've seen your assets, they know who you are, they buy into your philosophy, etc., etc. So super important. So these are the stages of any sales process, in my opinion. Again, I've simplified this quite a lot. You can add things in, but this is basically the stages. The first is introduction and framing the conversation. So after a bit of small talk and rapport building, it really helps both you and them to explain what the meeting, like what will happen in the meeting, as well as what the next steps are if it's a good fit. So just remember, this is the first time they've had a consultation or a sales call with your company, whereas you've probably done lots of them by this point. So it's actually easier for everyone, you and them, if you say like, here's how this is going to go, and here are the next steps. That's how I would think about it. Next is discovery. This is probably the most important part of the process. So this is where you really need to ask great questions and listen intently to the answers that you're given. It's all about trying to understand where the prospect is in terms of their current state and where they want to be future state. Again, it's a very similar theme with everything that we're talking about here. I would recommend you plan the questions in advance and then repeat the answers back to the prospect and make sure they agree with you. Because you have to remember as well, often people join these calls and they don't actually know. They don't know what they want. They don't know where they want to be, or they don't know what their challenges are. And so you're going to help them uncover them with great questions. You can also anchor your price point here as well, if that's something that can be a blocker, so that you don't waste your time. And this is basically what you need to know before moving to the next stage of the process. So I recommend you stay in discovery until you know the answers to all of these questions. So why are they here? Why are they having a conversation with you? What is their background and what made them take the time to have a call with you? Second, what are their challenges right now? What pain are they experiencing in their business? 3, what are their goals? What are the outcomes that they want to achieve? 4, what have they tried already? Like, why are they not doing this themselves? What have they tried already? And then finally, what is their budget for achieving the outcome? It should be 3. What is their budget for achieving the outcome? Simple as that. And if you have the answers to all of these questions, and your prospect or the person you're speaking to has a good understanding of them as well, and you feel like you can help them solve their problems and achieve their outcomes, and they've got a budget for you, then you can move on to the next stage. As a side note, this is a really good book called Gap Selling by Keenan, which really talks about that whole before and after stage point. Next, and I'm going to have to skip this a little bit. Next, you have to introduce your thesis. So we talked about this before in the marketing asset. You need to make them understand how your thesis can help them. Again, you're not selling your business, you're selling the thesis. You're showing how your thesis can help them achieve the outcomes that they want. Okay, so for example, AI SaaS company selling using AI to manage and analyze your data rather than selling the AI SaaS tool. A local payroll or employer company selling that businesses should use local providers rather than global services. Or in our case, we sell our growth protocol. So if we do discovery and someone is a good fit for us, then we show them the growth protocol and how it will apply to their business. And 9 times out of 10, they already know a bit about it already because they probably watched some videos and stuff on it. And so we just show them like, here's how It's going to help you achieve the goals that we just talked about in the previous kind of part of the conversation. And so once they understand the thesis, so you need to make sure they understand what you're talking about. And if they agree it's right for their situation, you can move on to the next stage. This is where you're going to show proof and evidence, case studies, just to show, proof that you can actually do what they say, what you say you can do. And then finally, you can sell the vehicle. So finally, you can sell the product or service. So explain why your process is going to get them there faster, quicker, better, easier than doing it themselves. Focus on the outcome, not the process itself. So people talk about sell the destination, not the journey of getting there. And that's basically it. If they're ready to move forward, then you can have a clear next step to help them move forward. And don't leave the call without agreeing what the next step is. And if they're not ready to move forward, you just follow up with an email, and then you arrange a time to speak again. So that is like a very high level version of how to do sales. Hopefully that's helpful for you. And sorry that I had to rush through that a little bit. Can you just give me a thumbs up if that was useful to anyone here? Does anyone here find sales difficult? Awesome. Oh, great. Thank you. That's really nice. So encouraging. I don't know why like the dopamine from that is so encouraging. Amazing. So who has got any questions on anything so far? And if not, I'm going to jump into the sort of final part, presentation and giveaways. Go for it, Elisma.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for all of that information. That was very helpful to understand your process and the way that you work. What I'm wondering about is the process around positioning. Like, do you also do research on like culture thermals or competitive research? Like, is that part of the process, or do you mainly focus on your ideal customer and present a brand in a way that appeals to them?
That's a really great question. Thank you for that. My general philosophy is I don't focus too much on competitors, because I like to focus on the customer and not really worry too much about my competitors. But usually there's a bit of competitor analysis in kind of the market research and product market fit hypothesis sections. But the focus should be on the customer. In my opinion, we spend way too much time as B2B companies worrying about what our competitors are doing, and way too little time worrying about what our customers actually want. So it's a good question. That's how I think about it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Awesome. Well, look, if there's no more questions, we'll end it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Really, really appreciate your time, and see you around. Have a great rest of your day.